Hello, hello. Welcome back. Were you expecting something different? No, it's not gonna happen this time. So, as expected, oxygen not included. And this time, I want to make a tutorial for the most advanced players, more advanced, I should say, players of oxygen not included. And this is happening in the Expressive upgrade at the moment. It's the latest one for 2018. I think the next one is gonna be in about a month and a half or so. So I compiled in a notepad actually 10 tips that I use a lot in my games, and I think they're gonna be useful for you too. They're a little bit more advanced, some of them. I mean, I start with a little bit easier ones, simpler ones, but they are some of them are a little bit more advanced. But I think they would help the more advanced players a lot. So here you go. The first thing and the most important thing I believe, or one of the most important things in the game, is to, and I will start this as the first tip, and it's a little bit underrated. The fact that you need to be wary about how many duplicants you have, and that's really important. And I have seen it in the initial games I was playing. If you go crazy and you get like 15 duplicants very early, if in cycle 100 you have too many dupes, that can be a big problem. And the reason for that is food mainly and water. And water is obviously used to create oxygen as well, so it has two reasons why it's important. But it's also used in food. So the more duplicants you have, the more food you need to create, the more water you need to create, and the more problems you will face. So I generally recommend that you start with 6 or 7 for many cycles, maybe more than 100 or 80 to 100 or whatever, and just make sure that you have secured your supply of food and water before you proceed to getting more duplicants. As you see here, I'm in cycle 313, and I have 10 duplicants at the moment, and zero stress, and everything pretty much rolling amazingly. So I think that's the most important thing. So make sure that you don't go crazy on the duplicates that you get. Just get the best ones you have, and don't be afraid to pass on some of them. The next one that I wanted to discuss a little bit about is the gas overpressure, and that's something that has been getting me even nowadays sometimes. And when you get like let's picture that you get like a room and you want to remove some of the gases from the room, or you're actually going to pump. Let's say that you want to pump the natural gas from this room, and then you get overpressurized vents, as you see here, for example. So this may actually stop the production of your facilities. You see here they are ongoing, but when I initially had my gas vent here, it was overpressurizing, and the reason for that is that there's a lot of gases around here. There's a big concentration of large concentration of gases, and there are really two ways to cope this issue. Actually, to cope with this issue, and the first way is to actually have ore scrubbers, or as they are called lately, carbon scrubbers, I mean, or as they're called lately, carbon skimmers. And these little machines actually remove the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and by removal without actually replacing it with any other gases, and that's important. So they leave a void pretty much, and in this void actually the other gases can go inside. So pretty much allowing for more space in the area that you want to vent. So for instance, you see that I have a carbon skimmer here, like close to the magma, and don't go too close because it's gonna be super hot. But this one is actually helping me a lot because it removes the carbon dioxide from this area, and you see the concentration is very low over here, and so I can actually pump the remaining. I can pump carbon dioxide here, and you see here, for example, if I go to the ventilation overlay, that my generation here, my natural gas generators, are actually sending the carbon dioxide here, and it's immediately getting it's immediately getting replaced with nothing really, and so I'm leaving more space for other gases to to be pumped around the areas here. And obviously I can also open up some of the blocks here, but that's a temporary solution. So I can actually dig a little bit and open up some more space for gases to go in. So the other way that you can actually do something about it is if you have a lot of gases that are using polluted oxygen, you can actually use deodorizers. And the thing with deodorizers is that for every 100 grams of polluted oxygen, they produce 50 grams of oxygen, effectively reducing the concentration of gases to 50 by 50%. So that's also pretty big. Remember that's pretty important. Deodorizers and cardboard skimmers, the way to go if you have such issues. Next one, and this goes also a little bit about it's about the beginnings for the most part, and it's for the initial stages of the game. And this is about algae. So algae, at least for advanced players, is meant to be used just as a temporary solution for the first few cycles of the game till you get your oxygen generation going. After that, you basically never need it. You can actually replace it even with slime or something. Like it just doesn't is not needed anymore. And when you start the game, I would suggest that you actually don't use algae terrariums at all, unless you really need to. You forgot about it and you have a lot of carbon dioxide in your base all of a sudden, and you just need to use it. Otherwise, just don't do it. It's basically using your algae for no real reason. I mean, if you really need to, you can also dig downwards, but there shouldn't be much need for removing carbon dioxide in the beginning. So yeah, just don't use it. Use it just for these things here, the algae deoxidizers. Build a couple, and once you get your real oxygen generation going with the electrolyzers, you can just disable them as I have here. You can still leave them in if you want, but you can definitely disable them. And eventually you will get a lot of algae just because you are pumping around, you are digging around and all that. So that was the third one. Next one, I would really recommend that you go for exosuits really quickly. And when I say really quickly, I obviously don't mean like cycle 10 or something, but probably like cycle 40 or 50. I would really recommend that you go for exosuits. And the thing that you need to do and that you want to do is to start preparing for it. So, create your rock granulator, find the thimble reed. It's always somewhere around your swamp biome. There's one here. But there tends to be one which is in an area that doesn't have a lot of slime for the most part. Almost always, in most of my playthroughs, I've always found one. But that's effectively the only place that you would need to, the only one time that you would need to dig without exosuits, to get a thimble reed and to get a little bit of polluted water in order to produce a thimble reed farm. And by thimble reed farm, I mean this thing here, which is basically 3 blocks of producing thimble reed. That's all you need really in preparation for exosuits. And once you get them, always investigate with them. Like don't use your dupes with for going around without using the suits, because the suits are basically making sure that they won't have any issues, any troubles with either hot climate or very cold biomes and all that. Slime, very importantly. They're a little bit slower unless you have them as exosuit engineers, which they are normal speed, I believe. But it's well worth it. I mean, just spend a little bit more time. You will be more efficient than actually sending them alone in these biomes without exosuits, because they will get sick and all that, and you will be effectively wasting time actually. So the next thing is a tip that is not so well known, and it's about automation, the gaseous element sectors. So this is the gaseous element sector here, which is can be very useful. And the way to use it is you pretty much wire it, and I'll show you the automation here. You wire it with a pump, as you see here, and you select the element, in this case natural gas. And whenever natural gas is detected by this pump, as it should happen here, although I have gas vent overpressure, it happened now, I think you saw it. It's a little bit of a overpressurized area, that's why nothing happens at the moment. But what would happen is that this would start kicking in. So you see that it's enabled by the automation grid. If you take a look at the boxes, at the dialogues, it's actually enabled now because it detected the gas, natural gas, and you can actually see it here from these little white things. So when this happens, it enables the pump, and it should start pumping the whatever gas is around in this filter and sending it back to the room over here. That's what I wanted to do. The problem is that the room is actually very overpressurized at the moment, so I cannot actually send it back now. But before that, I have done that, and it was working just fine. I had a little bit of a leak here. That's why there is a lot of pressure around here. So, and that's why I created this thing, so that I could actually pump the leaked natural gas back inside. So it's something to have in mind. I find it super useful. I have used it a lot of times, and always also remember that it requires a little bit of electricity, just a little bit, which should be much better with. I really like the latest update where the power transformers actually provide 4,000 kilojoules now, so that's much better than 1,000. It has helped me tremendously not to have too many transformers around. Love that update. It's amazing. Anyway, that was hopefully another useful tip. So the next thing I will talk about is food. Basically, the easiest food actually to have in your base is bristle blossoms. Obviously some food that actually makes sense. I mean, bristle blossom is also a food that actually makes sense in terms of morale, because you could go with the initial one. I'm even forgetting the name now. The mealworms. But that won't last you for a while if you actually want to progress with your jobs here. So you would have to make bristle blossoms, and I recommend this kind of setup. Just have a lamp a little bit above that, and so that it provides the the lights for many blocks here. As you see, I have like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. And that should be all you need for about 10 dupes in terms of bristle blossoms. Now, I don't just use bristle blossoms obviously because I want to get the bonus from the food, and so I go for stuffed berries and pepper bread. So let me explain how that works. Stuffed berries also require pincha pepper nuts, right? Which you can actually grow in your base somewhere, but there's a much better way of doing it, and I created a whole separate video for this. Just find some area in your biomes, in your relevant biome here, that has a lot of dracos and chlorine around, and pincha pepper plants that are already grown in there, and use that environment to actually grow your own. Also, as we say, I have added a few, and basically you get the proper conditions for free here. And so the only thing you would need to do is bring some fertilizer, as you see here. Somehow I'm getting a body temperature issue here. That's very surprising. It's actually proper. This is actually slightly lower, but yeah, this is not typical. But you see that there is a lot of things growing here, like really a lot. So you get a lot of. So I have been using that for many cycles, and works like a charm. And you can also combine some of the areas here. So for example, I could open up this also. I was thinking about it actually, just to open this whole area to this as well. Just create a few ladders here so that your duplicants can actually reach and provide fertilizer and get the materials, the food. And you can use that. You can use those plants here, the pincha pepper plants, in conjunction with the bristle blossoms. And you just go on an electric grill, use the stuffed berry, which provides superb quality, which is the best pretty much. And you have, I'm sorry, yeah, the stuffed berry. I was looking at the other one. And you pretty much have great quality. This is 4 plus 4. With some bristle berries and pincha pepper nuts, which you will have a lot. Like you see that I have 73 kilograms here. So, and also apart from that, I also create pepper bread, which is the superb quality. And for this, I also have a slid wheat grain farm, which is also quite kind of simple to get, as long as you have access to a cold biome, which you would eventually. Let me find it here. So again, I'm taking advantage of the environment, you see, right? So I just build it here in a cold biome. And it's pretty much work on its own, and the only thing I did is I just have some water coming in, and the good thing about it is that the water can also be cold, easily held cold here, going through the ice biome. So that works pretty great as well. And using this, you can have pretty much great food for your colony. This is like the best food that you can get, and this will help having your morale really, really low. And again, I created a separate video for this. You can watch it if you like in the channel. It was like the video right before this one. But yeah, this is how you would go about working around your food. And you see that I hover like 500,000 kilocalories here. So and I could easily go more if I really wanted to. And also remember to have your fridges here, deep inside carbon dioxide. I believe one of the viewers of the channel, Ian, mentioned that to me. It's a great tip. I have heard about it before. I was using it with ration boxes, but it actually works better, I think, with fridges. And you can also have them in chlorine. It's the same effect. It becomes a sterilized environment, and the food doesn't really go bad at all. So yeah, just have a pocket of of carbon dioxide here, and you'll be fine. I mean, you can hold a lot of food here. Next one, I want to talk a little bit about the oxygen production. So I have the 10 tubes now, and my oxygen production is great. This is not so great here because I have previously just turned off the pump for a little while. So I had 2 pumps here. This one was turned off for a while because I wanted to remove some of the oxygen from my base, just to remove some of the pressure. But if you turn this back on in a while, you will see that this will be fully, it will be covered in oxygen pretty much. It will be full of oxygen. So I've shown this setup in various videos, mentioned it many times. It's obviously Cryptic Fox's setup with an added pump, which I think it's much better than just having one. Because it can support about 10 tubes, probably a little bit less, but about 10. So yeah, I would urge you to go for such a setup. I mean, it works tremendously well, and you don't have to have the automation if you don't want to. But I find this kind of setup that Cryptic suggested really useful. I use it in every game that I play. It works like a charm. So, and you also have to remember the cooling mechanism, which is another well-known mechanism using insulated tiles here with some wizwards that you can get from ice biomes really quickly. And you see here that this works very well with gases. It doesn't work very well with plumbing stuff, with pipes. I mean to say, with liquid pipes. It doesn't work very well there, but it works great with gas. Gas is easier to cool. So comes out as 42 here, as you see, comes in as 42, and once it enters the area, enters the area for 34, 26, 20, 14, 13, 9, so, and eventually gets out at 9, and over here it's a little bit less, 7, 8, so here is 6.8. So this is amazing. I mean, it's pretty much great, and I've had it since cycle 50 or something, and I'm 314. And it doesn't even affect the temperature of the biome, because and the reason for that is the wizwards are actually helping the biome stay cool. So that's pretty amazing. And I would suggest that you build this area close to the ice biome, but not exactly on it, if you can. So that will work like a charm, and it will also help you, make your colony cooler. So it will also help you cool your colony. So as you see here, my colony has pretty much great temperature here. So that was, I believe, 8. Tip number 8. I have them in a notepad, as I mentioned. So the next one is insulation. I wanted to talk a little bit about insulation tiles for surrounding your base. And people may think that you can only use abyssal light, but that's not true. And I wouldn't recommend using abyssal light actually for surrounding your base because it's very expensive. I mean, it's hard to find. And I would recommend that you keep it for situations where you 100% want to block heat, and that would be, let's say, a volcano, for example, or a steam vent. For here, just using abyssal light tiles, these ones, even with igneous rock, is good enough. As you see here, that's what happened here. I'm using abyssal light insulated tiles, which made of sandstone in this case. And the thermal conductivity is close to 0 again. I mean, abyssal light is 0, but this is very close to 0 as well. And this effectively creates a barrier. You see here that it's 48, and over here is 24. That's perfect. I mean, you don't need anything else. And this is very low cost. This is just made out of sandstone. So you can very quickly, make sure that your base is blocked off of heat. very, very quickly. And I haven't done this part also, actually, because this is a new area. But yeah, just go for insulation like this, insulated tiles, without having to use abyssal light. You really don't need to. So the last one, last but not least, the anti-entropy nullifier, very, very useful for many situations. You can cool stuff, but as I mentioned again in a separate video, probably the best thing that I would suggest that you cool is your polymer press, because this thing gets really, really heated, and by using the polymer, this thing here, the anti-entropy nullifier, with some temp shift plates that can actually transfer the coolness easier. This is used as a way to actually transfer the temperature from this area here to this area here very quickly. So yeah, that's how I would recommend that you use the nullifier. Obviously, there are other ways. You can even cool water and all that, but this is what I would recommend. And again, it depends also on the specific game that you play, because you'll notice in this case, this is a little bit of a weird setup, because I'm pumping hydrogen here, which comes a long way. It was a little bit of a pain, but it comes actually a long way from this hydrogen vent. And if you have it, why not use it, right? So that's how I'm doing it. So hopefully that helps you a bit. I mean, just showing you how I'm handling my base here. The last thing, and quickly, I would want to say, since we're in the new update, which has the Expressive, as you see here, it's they're talking with each other and all that. Sometimes stress gets pumped up a little bit, and that's because at least if you're gonna do this, the tips that I made, the tips, what the heck, I can't even talk. The tips that I mentioned, in terms of food and stress, you will practically be in zero, but sometimes it will actually bump up a little bit. And the reason why this happens is that some of your dupes may be away for performing things, for doing stuff, like they may be getting an exosuit and be around here doing things, and so it takes a while for them to go back to the base and eat. And eating is actually the most important thing if we're talking about the last tiers here of stress, because it really drops their stress and makes their morale much higher quickly. So don't be super afraid if that happens, because when they go back and eat, as you saw here earlier, they were here in the mess tables. This will start dropping very, very quickly again. So you see it was 20 and now it goes 15, and I'm pretty sure it will be 14 soon if I go faster. So again, don't be very scared about that. It happens. I've seen it many times in this playthrough. You see it goes down again. And just have a few massage tables. You won't need them if you do the things that I told you. You really won't. I think last time I used those, it was like cycle 100 or something. But just have them in over there. Why not? Thanks for watching. Hopefully you found those tips useful. I'm trying to to give you ideas from the late game as well, because I have played a lot of the game, and I have seen some of the troubles that arise. So hopefully I can be a little bit proactive for you, and I can help you with things that can come up later in your games, or even even in the beginning if you're just starting. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Hope you found this interesting, and if you did, please remember to like and subscribe to help me produce more. Thank you. Bye-bye.